Hello. My name is Raven Willis. Welcome back to my channel. I am a business contracts and trademarks attorney, and today we are going to answer, are contracts binding if they are not written down? The answer is possibly. Any contract that is basically over $500 can't be performed within a year, fully performed within a year. The sale of real estate, definitely. Marriage, and then contracts for suretyships. Those are the types of contracts that need to be in writing generally. Oral agreements are going to not be applicable. The reason is because people have different recollections of what was said and what was promised. The more at stake, the greater the potential for a dispute and the messier things are going to get. So that's why if it's over $500 generally, or, if it can't be performed within a year, that's why the law is like, no, we need to go ahead and put these things in writing. Now, there are exceptions. If there is going to be like some sort of fraud, the law is not going to be like, no, this person clearly was taking advantage, but because it wasn't in writing, we're not going to say that it's a contract. No. So if there is fraud involved, to prevent a fraud, a lot of times the court will construe a contract based upon testimony. And then they got to figure out, okay, well, what was said. Also, keep in mind, it's a lot less common for agreements to not be in writing. When you send an email, technically that's writing. When you send a text message, that's writing too. If there's enough detail in a text message, in an email, in a string of emails, in a string of texts, that someone could reasonably put together a contract, then that might be enough actually. So what needs to actually be present in order for one to kind of Frankenstein a contract together for you? You need to understand who the parties are, what's actually being conveyed. So there has to be an offer, there has to be an acceptance, and it has to be supported by consideration. Those are the things that need to be present in order for a contract to be created. Now there's a lot that goes into each of these elements, like a ton, but in a text message string, you can a lot of times kind of cobble that together, or in an email string, you can cobble that together. So I feel like this question again, is an oral agreement a contract in today's age may not be as relevant. And let me say one other thing, record everything. Even if a contract is oral, if it's been captured in a recording, in my opinion, that would potentially have just as much weight as a written agreement. And the reason is because it is objectively verifiable what was communicated, assuming again there was an offer and acceptance and then there's consideration, but it's objectively verifiable in that recording. So in my opinion, an oral agreement at that point is almost transformed. If at all possible, definitely record everything. I know that when I talk to any of my clients, I have everything in Zoom and I save it away into a folder. A lot of times I do go back and watch it. Sometimes my memory is not the best and I cannot recall like what it is that I committed to do. So I'll go back and I'll pull the recording and I'll fast forward, and then I've caught several things. So recording is always a really good idea. So the other tip is, if say you're on the phone with someone and you did not get a recording, what do? Just send a follow-up email, like a memo saying, hey, I just want to follow up with what we discussed. And here are the takeaways that I had. Here's what's going to happen. Like, put it all in writing that way and then send it to them. And that way now you have a record of it being in writing. I always put something at the end saying, if this is not consistent with what you recall, respond back and let me know. Otherwise, let's just go ahead and move forward with whatever it is that we are going to do. And if they normally, most times are like, oh no, great, thanks for sending this over. And then that's their concurrence that it was in fact true. So that's the other way to kind of get around this whole is a verbal contract. A contract, just make sure and just follow it up with a memo. let's just say you have a contract, but then you also have verbal agreements that are almost like side contracts around this actual written agreement. What part do they play into the written agreement? My opinion about that is they are more of an explanation, and it clarifies the written agreement. There is a place for verbal communications that help to clarify the agreement and to help clear up any type of ambiguity. Most contracts on their face are not really thorough, so it requires businesses to look at all the extraneous information, text messages, emails, phone conversations, Zoom meetings and stuff like that. Those, emails definitely have their place. Text messages definitely have their place. Even if you do have a written agreement, still keep track of all that information. Like if there is a question you ask, like, hey, I know that we said we were going to receive X, Y, and Z, but here's a variable that we didn't consider. Can you please clarify like how that now applies? And then make sure you keep records of all that, because it might come in handy in the future. I hope this was helpful. If it was, drop a comment below. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. We are just getting going, but I appreciate all the support by doing those things. And thanks for joining. Bye.